What's up YouTube, Capital G here, letting you guys know what the heck happened at YCS Dusseldorf, Germany that took place over the weekend. And actually check that because we're going to be talking about YCS Dusseldorf and YCS Dusseldorf 2 in this video. Yes, if you guys have not heard, Konami actually hosted two YCSs at the same time in Dusseldorf over the weekend. That in itself is one of the craziest things I have ever heard in my life, but we will talk about that more momentarily. As always, of course, guys, I spent a good portion of my weekend reading up on the coverage and watching the live stream so that you didn't have to. So let's go ahead and start where I always like to start on these YCS recaps, and that would be with the attendance, because that was one of the biggest storylines to come out of Dusseldorf this weekend, guys. The attendance was just mind-blowing. It was absolutely insane, phenomenal. It was amazing. Every other superlative that you can think of, you can apply it to what happened at Dusseldorf over the weekend. This was an event that no one saw these type of numbers being broken. Guys, not Konami, not us in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, not the judge staff, not the players there, anyone involved. If they told you that they thought that this event would see these type of numbers, they're fooling themselves. They're lying. There's no way. Konami actually set a cap for this event, and they reached that cap fairly early, but then they realized that there were still hundreds upon hundreds of players that were outside. I'm talking about like 500 players that they were actually going to have to turn away at this event. And then what they decided to do was crazy, right? They already had, you know, all the things ready for the YCS Dusseldorf that was being held at this venue. What Konami decided to say was, hey guys, you know what? Everybody pack their stuff up. We're gonna allow you guys to play. We're gonna go rent out one of the Hilton hotels down the street across town, and we're all gonna have another separate YCS at that event. Like, this is insane, guys. I have been keeping up with the Shonen Jump Championship and YCS series tournaments since 2006. There's only one other time that I can remember where Konami had to do something remotely similar to this, because they have, you know, like 500-600 people in addition to what they would expect. And obviously Konami does have these caps at these venues for a reason. It mainly is just like a safety thing in case there's like a fire or something like that. You don't want the fire marshal showing up and having to shut down an event or something of that sort. That would obviously be a tragedy. But the only time that anything remotely similar to this happened was at the YCS Long Beach during 5Ds. That's the one that has the Guinness Book of World Records, you know, associated with it. And I believe that event, Konami had to rent out an entire, like, they had to rent out a second floor basically, because they ended up getting like 2,000, you know, 2,000 plus more people than they expected. This is essentially the same thing, and I think that this is just awesome because it shows how excited people are for Yu-Gi-Oh, man. You remember not that long ago, things were not looking all that good in the game. You know, we've had some unhealthy formats, tier 0, FTK years, but now I think it's because we have so many good and amazing decks. I think the format is super fun and healthy, and really this is just, I don't know, it's just a sign of the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh is in this amazing place. And the last thing that I will say about the attendance, which is also just kind of unbelievable, if you guys don't know, this is obviously the largest European tournament of all time. This is the largest event ever held in European history. However, you guys do realize that at the 200th YCS, which was like just 2 years ago, or excuse me, just like 6 months ago, you realize we had already broken that record, right? So in back-to-back years, we have broken the European attendance record. Like, that is amazing, man. Yu-Gi-Oh is in such an amazing position right now. Now, when it comes to the decks that we're actually seeing play there, I think that I'm ready to announce that the Salamanvasion has officially begun, guys. It is, oh my goodness, my salad boys. As the Salam ambassador, I could not be more proud. Salamangreat, we are here. I told you guys for months that this was going to be a meta deck, and I'm not going to grandstand too much in this video because, real talk, I didn't even think that Salamangreats would do this. I didn't think that we'd hit the ground running like this. Salamangreats are already the most popular deck in the TCG pretty much right out of the gates, and I saw it last weekend when I played at the regionals, and you could see it at like the ARGs and the Pro Play game events and stuff like that. Salamangreats, because of how inexpensive they are, because of the fact that you can basically just pick up 3 copies of your structure deck. Maybe you spend a little more money on your Sunlight Wolves, and even the like expensive cards, they're budget options. You don't need impermanence. You can run Veiler. You don't have to play, a really expensive cards like Phantasme. If you don't have it, you can play like artifact cards. Like, there are so many budget options that a lot of players can simply spend $70, $80 and have the entire Salamangreat deck and basically be ready to top, and that's why you're seeing these numbers. Now, obviously, they have other classified here, and that can include even other like really good solid tier 2 decks like ABC and Cyber Dragon, both of which top dated Chicago, the YCS not that long ago. But Salamangreats, when it comes to the decks that they do have listed, was by far in a way the most popular deck of the weekend. And it doesn't just go for YCS Dusseldorf 1, but also YCS Dusseldorf 2. And I think, let me see if I can pull up the memes. People already started with the memes. You got the SpongeBob like, hey Cap, if YCS Dusseldorf is so good, if it was so amazing, why isn't there a YCS Dusseldorf 2? Oh, wait a minute, there actually was. But yeah, Salamangreats was the most popular deck over the weekend. I've said before, I think that Salamangreats are basically the new Black Wings. Whether you want to make comparisons to how good it was in context to Black Wings, or the anime implications, or really just kind of the price of the deck, I think that everything kind of aligns to where, yeah, Salamangreats are very similar to what Black Wings was for 5Ds. Now, when it comes to the actual top cut, these are also numbers that I thought were pretty eye-opening. And again, I actually predicted Salamangreats would win this event. I said it on my live stream. I think Salamangreats will simply have the numbers to win this event. Now, it did not ultimately win. I believe, yeah, Thomas Rose actually won with a Orcus build, but look at these numbers of the top cut. This is the top 64, which I feel like is actually more appropriate than a top 32 breakdown, simply because, between the two YCSs, you had, almost 3,000 players, 28, 50 just about. I mean, I think that a top 30 or top 64 makes a lot of sense. Salamangreats coming in with 3 times as many players in the top 64 as Thunder Dragons and Sky Strikers. I mean, if this isn't a changing of the guard, I don't really know what is. But it wasn't just the fact that you kind of had the big 3 and Salamangreats, Thunder Dragons, and Sky Strikers, where I guess you can really say that Salamangreats have just kind of taken the spot of Altergeist, which again did not actually make the top cuts at either events. Altergeist, I feel like Altergeist have just been definitively replaced with Guru Control. I'm gonna make an entire video about that, but I really feel like Altergeist, you cannot even consider it a tier 1 deck anymore. I think that stuff like Crusadia and Subterror that are consistently topping since the release of Savage Strike and Soulburner, they've just been doing better. And for anybody out there who wants to be an Altergeist apologist, understand you had the same exact numbers when it comes to Guru Control. 105 Altergeist players, 103 Guru players. That's the same exact number, so there's no reason why Guru Control is topping and Altergeist isn't. The True Draco number actually surprised me. Same thing, or not really so much with Trickstars, but yeah, the Guru Control number being that high was definitely a good indicator that people are feeling like it is kind of the definitive control deck of this meta. Now, when you go to the top 8 of the YCS Dusseldorf 1, it pretty much tells a similar story. It means that like the Salamangreat players were not just getting into the top cut and then scrubbing out. Now, obviously, some of them had to duel each other, which would benefit them because it meant that, one of them was going to advance on. But Salamangreats being 50% of the top cut. You also had a Dark Warrior variant that was ran by King Taboo, which I'll talk about the top 8 a little more. You guys remember him from playing Print Kids and winning the YCSs. Subterror, once again, I think the premier control deck right now, or the premier anti-meta deck, I should say, getting that top 8 as well. You got Thomas Rose here with his Orcus Danger, and then Thunder Dragon, old consistent. Surprisingly, no Sky Strikers in the YCS Dusseldorf top 8. However, before the Sky Striker players, fret, before you guys like, man, God, what's happening to our deck? If you look at the YCS Dusseldorf 2, it actually tells a different story, which is super interesting, because at YCS Dusseldorf 2, and again, this event was over 500 players, the second YCS. This event actually had, half of its top 8 was Sky Strikers. So by no means is Sky Striker a deck that flopped at this event. Sky Striker actually ended up winning YCS Dusseldorf 2, 500 person tournament, definitely legitimate and respectable. And when it also comes to the top cuts, for anybody out there saying that Lunalight was a one-hit wonder, it's not that good of a deck cap. There it is, guys. Lunalights in the top 8. I still think Lunalights are an amazing deck. I think that you cannot consider them anything less than maybe tier 2, because I mean, going first, they can still Azathoth you, and they can just kill you after that, and there really aren't that many great answers to Azathoth except Twin Twister or Pankatrops. And then also they have the ability to summon Leo Dancer in game, or when they're going second. And you know, Leo Dancer is, I think, still probably one of the top 2 or 3 best boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. There really aren't a lot of answers to her. A lot of stuff just targets, and she can just end the game. Now, when it comes to the top 64, continuing on, there are still a lot of other interesting decks. Some of them were classified as other, but it really shows you like how diverse this format is. It isn't even just the decks that I was talking about. You also have decks like Blue Eyes Guard Dragon variants that actually made it to the top. Last week we saw this on, I believe, Sammy's channel, where a guy with Blue Eyes actually made top 8 at a regional, and now you're seeing it actually translate over to the YCS level. So don't think like Blue Eyes isn't a real deck, because it definitely is. And with a Morphage Goliath and also Dark Matter Dragon, which is banned in the OCG, like, you can do some pretty damn stupid stuff. We also saw other Dragon Danger builds that didn't run any of like the conventional stuff. Like, they were just kind of like Dragon hybrid decks that were also doing a lot of big things. I believe one of them made top 16. It's on Lithium's channel. You guys definitely should check that out. Now, here's your winner. My current favorite player in the game. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because he's got that $1 million smile on his face. Thomas Rose, aka the guy that basically brought Burning Abyss back into the forefront with his Sekka's Light build. He decided to play Orcus Danger at this event, and my man actually took home the entire title. Congratulations, Thomas Rose. I think you got to consider him at this point probably one of the top 5 best players in the world, simply because he's just on a tear right now. I mean, it seems like Thomas Rose cannot be stopped. Also, I talked about earlier, if I can find him, Kink the Boo, who actually was his tag partner. So these guys played in the top 4. I'm sure that they were super familiar with each other's decks. Ironically enough, and this was a surprise to me, actually, I'll jump ahead, then I'll come back. If you look at, Thomas Rose's deck list, which Kink the Boo also ran, Neospace Connector is seeing a huge resurgence in play. This is a card that I actually thought was I thought it was like a dead card walking, because I was like, man, Neospace Connector, there's the Dark Warrior, they lost Rango, they lost Gumblar. What exactly is going to happen with Dark Warriors? But a lot of people are realizing that Azathoth turn 1 wins games, and then basically just, if you're going second, Boral Swording your opponent wins games as well. Also, being able to bring out things like your Neospace Aqua Dolphin out of your deck, and then just be able to like rip a card out of your opponent's hand is like ridiculously strong. So I think people are like playing this. Kink the Boo and Thomas Rose both ran this in their deck, and it actually was like super effective in their matches. There was even one duel where a person had Sayuja Scoldred on the field. He used Aqua Dolphin and ended up taking out, I believe it was Raphael Nevens. He ended up taking out his Phantasmite Dragon out of his hand, and I was like, oh man, that just definitely has to hurt. Now, when it comes to like the finals and how everything played out, Salamangreats did make it all the way to the finals, and I feel so bad for young Jonas here. It went into sudden death, guys, aka first person to do damage actually ends up winning. Thomas Rose completely bricked. He just set a monster face down. Jonas actually twin twisted him, so he got rid of his back row. He summons Jack Jaguar, but he did not have the courage to attack a face down monster, and the memes have already started. I'm so sorry, Jonas, but the internet, it's so cruel, man. Look at this. Jackalope, it's a danger Jackalope. I can't attack as a Jackalope. People are saying that he thought it was Jackalope, and he said that too. He didn't attack. Unfortunately, it was just a random Orcus monster, and if he would have attacked with the Salamangreat Jack Jaguar, he would have ended up winning the duel. Also, some other crazy stuff. Danger, people are not Danger, Orcus people are already starting to meme this, especially with the new support in Dark Neostorm, which I've already said, I actually believe when Orcus get the new cards in Dark Neostorm, I think Orcus will be just a smidgen better than Salamangreat. You got Dingirsu here, he's like, man, I can't wait to be released in the TCG camp. I'm gonna turn Orcus into a top deck. What do you mean they already won a YCS? This is so unfair. Like, I thought they needed me. And then the final one being Thomas Rose, I guess kind of stealing the plays from Yugioh Reigns. You guys know I always say Yugioh Reigns is a masterpiece. Thomas Rose actually copied the Reigns anime. You got Go Onizuka here, expanding thought capabilities, brain hack over limits. I set one monster in my turn. Thomas Rose did that exact play at the YCS. It ended up winning him the title. But honestly, this event was crazy, guys. Whether it be the top cuts, all the interesting and amazing decks, whether it be the Salamangreat takeover or really just the attendance that no one saw coming. What do you guys think of this event? I guess the last thing I'll talk about is some of the implications on the secondary market. Nothing has really gone on crazy so far. However, there are some cards that I would like to talk about because I don't think that there are cards that are going to go down anytime soon, just because Salamangreat appear to be the most represented deck in the meta, and that would be Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, which is now unfortunately a $10 plus card. When I bought mine in late January, about a little less than a month ago, it was only a $2 card, but I don't think because of the popularity of this deck that the price is going down soon. And then one of the other breakout performances of the weekend was Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. From what I've seen, basically every Salamangreat player is trying to main deck this if they have it. I kind of include myself in that because this card is good against everything in the meta that does not have the word Guru control in it, whether it be Salad Boys or Sky Striker, Thunder Dragon, Orcus, Luna Lights. If your deck is going to link summon, this card is going to be good against you. But whatever you guys think of the event or whatever you guys think of the storylines, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.